Hello, my name is Tyler. This is assignment 6 of CECS-327. So creating the Google Cloud instance VMs. So here are my three that I created. So I have one for my web server and then two separate VMs to do the client server communication, pinging back and forth. Um, and then named, my initials and my student ID, and then obviously denoting like what uh, service I'm using for the name. And so starting with the web server, so the web server is live right now. And it's using Apache. So this is a Linux VM using a different web server or using the web server. So if I get this external IP address, copy it to my clipboard and try and access it via my web browser, it'll show me that, well, my web browser is set up so I'm not just immediately allowed to connect the HTTP websites and requires HTTPS. Um, so I'll allow it for this instance, and then it'll show, and this was the HTML that I formatted differently in the web server. So Tyler Alamo is web server, and then of course our class with our semester. Um, and I can show you this server how it's running too by connecting via SSH with the cloud command. So if I copy that to clipboard, paste it in here, it'll allow me to connect, and they kind of show like what's going on. So on the left pane is the web server. So if I do something like sudo, uh, or yeah, so this is my Apache server. So it's showing obviously that it's up and running, it's active, um, everything's going good, obviously. And so it's obviously showing too that's HTTP to the HTTPS server. Um, so then if I go over here, I've already forwarded the Python files required for these two VMs to talk to each other. But if I want to connect to them, I'll just copy that same or different cloud command, and then I'll SSH. This pane will be VM1, top right will be VM1, bottom right will be VM2. Okay, cool. So if I go in here, I'll just clear it so it's a little cleaner. So here on my top right will be my server. I can show you too. I have my server.py here. Um, so in my code, and I'll show you, I have it set up so that it takes command line arguments. First argument, and this you can also see this from assignment 5, but it's using the same code, literally the same exact code. But command line argument 1 will be my server IP address, and then this should be 2. Command line argument 2 uh, will be my port number. Um, oh, okay. So to get that information, we go back here, and the this is the VM I'm working in right now. So my server IP address will be my internal IP address. So there's 10.128.0.4. I'll just copy that to make it a little easier. And so to run it, I'll do server. First one is my IP address, which is that one, which I'll use my internal. And then I'll use a port number that I choose. So I'll just use 2481. So now I'll be listening on 2481, awaiting a client, right? So now I go down here. This is my client VM. You can see I have my client.py file there too. And then if we take a look in here, so I'll just blow this up and then vim client. Uh, the command line argument 1 is server IP address. Second one is port number. So same order as last time. But this will be a little different because instead of using that local IP address, you need to use the external IP address. And so by that I mean when we set up the server, we use this internal IP. But then when we connect to this server, we need to use the external IP address with the same port. And then when we use that same port, basically the router will route our connection to the proper internal IP address. So that's external. And then if you remember, we use 2481 as the port number. We use this, successfully connected to the server, and this works the same way by echoing back and forth. So top right, you can see that we accepted a connection from uh, that IP address at that port number. So 35.233.160.186, which is our second VM here. So that all checks out. And then I could like send messages back and forth. So if I want to say something like put my name, it'll return it back capitalized. If you see up there on the top right, it shows the server that received that information. So if I do like Tyler or Long Beach, all that stuff comes back. And then want to kill the connection, it kills the connection on the top as well. Um, but yeah, that's everything as far as being able to host the web server, which I showed initially with accessing that website via the external IP address. Also showed you my Apache web server running. And then VM1, VM2 being able to echo back and forth using that same program that we created last time, except for this time it's hosted on the cloud. Um, so thank you very much. Yeah.